Welcome to another episode of Planning Phase Syndicate. Episode 8, Aces High. Tonight we're going to have a good discussion I think around Aces High. We decided to dedicate our Academy 101 segment to talking about the rules and how to play Aces High. And yes, if you're tuning in cuz you were watching us through our XTC streams, no, this is not a competitive specific episode. We are 100% doing a pretty casual episode tonight. And when I get to what turns my dials, if you watched me on Nickel City, you're going to understand why we're going to have a conversation about this because I love Darth Vader. Either which way, we're going to do what turns my dials tonight. We're going to be doing an Academy 101 where we talk about how to play Aces High, maybe build a few lists if we have time. And then we're also going to do a roll call segment where Charles is actually going to talk to us about 1.0 ships or pilots that may not have made it into the 2.0 version. Things he hopes that will get put in there. I don't know. I do think the big thing is he discovered something tonight. He did. And I'm going to bring him into this. But he discovered that the majority of the pilots for 1.0 Scum made it into 2.0. Right, Charles?
That's correct. There's one big glaring named pilot that I miss personally. So that pilot we will speak about later. There's a couple of generics that I'd like to see. There was an I-1 Skurg and an I-5 Fang, which back in the day I-5 was middle of the pack because it went up to 9. So you could say the Skull Squadron replaced it, but we had an I-4 and an I-5. So there was a bunch of like variations for skulls so that you or for fangs so that you could mix and match a little bit better than just 1, 4 or named. So it is what it is.
Which is cool. That is cool. So we're going to do that. And if we have time, we're going to get to another Rebel Academy. Kind of depends on our time frame for the episode. With that being said, let's bring on our our co-hosts, Charles and Matt. How are you all tonight, sirs?
Feeling like a guest, apparently.
Just
been fighting with the internet company all day. Evil empire. But other than that, living the dream, man.
Wouldn't you say that maybe they were the Scum faction? Because in fairness, they just didn't follow the rules, broke the rules on more than one occasion, pissed you off to the point where you almost had to throw 6 red dice at them.
Now, that was the construction company that caused the argument with the cable company, but the cable companies are evil empires. We all know this.
Then, the thing is in this analogy, he'd have rolled 6 red dice, and I don't know, there would have been an act where it was like all blanks or something crazy. I
don't know. Luckily, I was cloaked.
You were cloaked. If you watched, we are doing some ecstasy streams. We thought it would be very fun. And actually, come to find out, next week is round 6. So I believe they do pairings on Monday, July 5th. So hopefully we're going to get some more pairings. And they're now offering, they're trying to get us to make sure we stream games from teams that may not be in the top cut. And I said, hey, that's perfect for us. Like, those are the streams I want to stream, actually. I like those streams. They're going to be things that we'll get to talk through. And hopefully we'll have at least 2 or 3 XTC streams next week. That's my goal, depending on how fast they fill up. So that 3 o'clock time slot, that 1900 UTC is a really hard time slot for me to fill with work. But this week with vacation time, we made it work. So
I was excited to see that game on Thursday. That was actually pretty cool. Very, very interesting how you guys did that, and also very, very, very good game actually to watch. So, hey, well done, guys.
Yep.
Thank
you.
So
our Thursday game was our Denmark versus Switzerland, and we had them all up on our.
Hungary, Sweden.
I created our that was our Wednesday game. Was our Hungary one? No, that was our Thursday game. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm like 2 days off.
No worries
in my head.
I got a chance to see it, so no worries.
Either which way, we did some XCC streams. It was fun. I think that's something that I'm hoping we'll get to continue to do. And at some point, maybe we'll be able to do in-person streams at a tournament. I don't know. Kind of depends how much we have to travel. So, If you have not and you're watching the show, liked and subscribed yet, please head over to the Twitch channel, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 50 subscribers so we could turn on the the monthly subscriptions, as well as if you want to head over to YouTube, throw it up on YouTube. And that just kind of helps us out. We also have our podcast episodes are the only episodes that we have on Podbean. But essentially, Podbean is now feeding to a bunch of different sources, so you should be able to get our podcast. If you'd rather listen to us than look at our three ugly mugs, that's probably a better
Speak for
idea.
yourself,
I mean,
dude. Jeez.
fair enough. We got the balding beauty here, and the beard, and the scum player. I don't know how to critique Charles. So.
That's what I get.
That's
The
your
bald
best
guy, the
one.
beard, and the scum player. The insult is I'm a scum player. Thanks, Chris.
Anyway,
I mean,
Wow.
apt, very apt though. I mean, it was.
He's not. It's
like,
not
right
incorrect, but like, wow.
Right, no, he was. I mean, normally he's like, it's like normally he's a little like hit and miss with his put downs, but there, just right at him. Straight
I'm
like
just
an
gonna.
arrow.
You know what? I'm gonna choose to take it as a compliment that there was not a physical defect on me that he could focus on immediately, so he just had to pick some arbitrary thing about me. I'll take that as a compliment.
well,
Or
I
was it
don't
that,
see
like,
my
there were
beard as
so
a
many
defect.
you couldn't just focus on one. Like, which
That-
way was it? I mean,
You know what?
which
I'm
way is
gonna
it?
choose to look on the positive, the glass half full side, Matt.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, there you go. With that being said, Matt, let's go ahead and kick off our Academy 101.
Okay.
And here is our Aces High.
All right. Well, I know you guys are all bored with how to play single-player X-Wing, multiplayer X-Wing. So we're going to give you a new format, and that's Aces High. So Aces High can be played with 2 to 8 players. I don't normally see it with over like 4. It does get a little bit messy out there on the board, especially in normal board state. So it's played with hyperspace tokens. So Chris, are you able to start jerrying around and bringing up the game board there when you have a moment?
I can.
So
Yeah, I can.
Aces
Did you
High-
want to? Did you want to go through the rules first, or do you just want me to bring up the board?
So yeah, we can just start with there's no real rush. We can put up the board later on too. It doesn't really matter. So each player plays with 1 ship, and it can vary on points. Usually, or what's been accepted in the past has been generally right around 80 points or so. I mean, you can play more or less depending on your setup, depending on your friends. But it's 1 ship, generally speaking, an ace, hence the name for Aces High. And they usually use the squad points. You can go as low as 50, I think, probably would be pretty low. And I've seen the rules say you can go as high as 125, though. At 125, you're talking about a pretty fat ship, and now that Vader Defender exists, you are pretty much going to just have 4 Vader Defenders on the board. So I'm just saying that's probably going to happen. So
Sensors Gurry coming in out of left field.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, really fat one, man. I'll tell you, you can have a very thick Gurry. Han Solo completely fatted out as well. I mean, there's a lot of options. I mean, you don't really have to go with a small base, even though that's what you think about when you don't think about bases and stuff like that. But you can, of course, do a larger base. It does make you a pretty prime target and a big target at that. Right. So, so basically, Aces High doesn't go in pilot initiative order. Normally, it would. You just have a first player, and then all the other players go clockwise from that player. So you'd set it up with hold on 1 second, guys, sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, had a little bit of an issue there. So you would set up the play board. You set up the ships where you're 1 from each board edge, and then you have to be 2 from any other ship. Again, starting with player 1 and then moving clockwise through the different setups. use 4 hyperspace tokens and 6 of any asteroids. They're just placed down into the game board again to the edge, and 1 from any major thing. You'll see basically with the hyperspace things in there. It's a little trickier, but you can figure it out pretty easy. The only trick is you can't have. Well, I don't think that matters in this particular one. Though you usually try to have it so you're not aiming directly straight out from any of the launch parts on the hyperspace tokens into any obstacle. All right, so points. The game goes to 6 points. How do you score points? So there's 2 ways to score points. No, multiple ways to score points. We're going to go with 2 major ways to score points. First of all is the first hit taken on a ship. That's a full hit point ship, down 1 hit point. Whoever scored that hit gets 1 victory point. And then also defeating a ship. So if you defeat a ship, then it's kind of like a multi-swing. So here's how it works. You will defeat that ship. You get 2 victory points for defeating the ship. And then you take any victory tokens that person has on their pilot as well and add those to your pile of victory points. And then you add a victory point token to your pilot card. That's not a point for you, but it is a point for others if they kill you.
Yep. So it's essentially like if you and I are flying, and let's say I have Vader and the Defender, and you got a Fat Han, and I outmaneuver you. You can't shoot at me. I kill you. That would take forever to kill you. Man, that would take years. Anyway, but whatever. So I kill you. I get your victory points because you killed Charles Gurry because, no matter what you do, Gurry's not going to live. It's better than Torkoal Mux, so you can't run Torkoal Mux, Charles. That's a rule.
Ouch. I forgot you can
it's
run
right
Torkoal
at the
Mux
bottom. No, it's right at the bottom. Underneath scoring, nobody gets Torkoal Mux.
That's what it says.
But anyway, so if you killed him and then I kill you, I get the victory point you took from him plus the victory points from you, correct?
So right. So you get 2 points for killing me and then 1 extra because I had 1 victory point on my card. So yes.
Yep.
So, real quick question. So, hypothetically speaking, if Chris killed you with those additional points on your card, those points go onto his card and basically make him a prime target that we kill him to get those points. Is that right?
He gets 1 point on his card.
Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, because you can only take the 1 point. That's what I was trying to get at, is to make sure that if I kill you, I don't get all of your points. Because if you got 3 points already and I kill you, I get those 3 points plus the 1. I'm at 4. Like, that seems pretty unfair.
You could die 5 times and end up with a lucky shot and win if you get the person in first place. Yes. So no, what it is it's 1. It's 1 victory point per. And then think about it. If I were to have taken both of you guys out and I have 2 on my card, then I'm worth 2 points for the kill normally, plus the 2 on my card. So the kill on me would be worth 4, for instance.
Oh.
Yeah.
How long is this gaming going to last very long, is it?
Well, they are aces, so I mean, there's a little bit of this and that. It'll depend. It's not super duper easy to pin down and kill aces with only 1 ship too. That's another thing to remember, right? And lots of times, what you do is focus fire in the game. So.
And also, once you're off the board, you're not out permanently, right? Like the next planning phase, you get to redeploy back into the game and try for points yourself. So it's not just, I got destroyed. Now I sit out and wait for the next game, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. So there's, So now, when does it end, right? So you end a certain amount of points, anywhere from 6 and up, I guess, depending, again, how many your crew decides they want to play. And you're talking about restoring your ship. You do restore a ship if you are off the board, and that's if you fled combat, which I'll give you rules on if you flee. If you flee combat, then then there's points there. Anyways, whatever. If you're destroyed or you flee combat, you're off the board. You do redeploy next time it's your turn. What you'll do is you'll roll a die, and then you'll either get hit, focus, or you roll a red die. It's either a hit, focus, blank, or you can get a crit. On a crit, I believe you come back in on a hit mark. I think you get to choose actually on a crit. Double check. Sorry about this, guys. It doesn't happen very often, obviously, but.
And then you get to reposition. So if you flee, you lose points though. So like if Charles decides he's just gonna run from me because I'm Darth Vader and everybody should be afraid. Not as afraid as Thrawn, but everybody should easily be afraid of Darth Vader. Then he would lose a point for that.
Sorry, Thrawn's overrated.
Oh, you say that, but you don't know. He's not even in X-Wing.
He isn't even in X-Wing. I was gonna say, but he's then again never flew a. Did he? I don't think he ever was a pilot really of a.
He's a pilot of a
fighter
Star
craft.
Destroyer. That's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was a Grand Admiral. So
He'd be
Anyways.
a crew card because he's not good enough to be a pilot.
right, right there you go.
All right.
That would probably be a very bad crew
We're
card
gonna
to have.
change
Well,
what's
probably good one to have.
what turns my dials.
Anyways, so okay. Well, I'm not looking in on it. We'll say that I think you get to choose which one, and we're gonna go with that until I can find better answers, and I'll have a response for you if I.
It says starting
Don't
with
find
the
it.
first player, each player with no ship in play rolls one attack die and then restores their destroyed ship, placing it back in play with its rear guides at the positions. And then let me bring up. I could bring up TTS, can I? I think I can do that.
Well, so again, on the token, there's only a focus and a hit and a blank symbol. So if you get a crit, I believe you get to choose. So there are 4 symbols on the board, arranged at 2 of them diametric at 3 from each corner, and then also 2 of them again diametric from an opposite of the other 2 at 1 from each corner. Chris is likely bringing this up on screen now to show you. And if you look at the hyperspace tokens, you'll see what they are. So they're always facing with the blank towards the corner of the board. So if you do end up with a blank, you will have to remember to set up your ship right, carefully along the corners there.
All
when
right,
you do come back in, you come back with all your charges and everything. Sorry, Chris. What?
Yep. So I have Obi-Wan on the board right now, and he
Surprised you didn't
fled.
go with Vader.
Nah, I had Obi-Wan. I like Obi-Wan. And in the he likes to fly fast. In the not in the ETA but the Delta. So
Sure.
where would he come back in? So let's say he left, he's gonna leave, he's running through 3. Boom, he's gone. Where does he come back?
So you roll a dice.
Okay. I'm gonna roll that dice.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
What'd you get? I can't bring it up. That was what was.
I got a hit.
Video issues. Okay, so you can place it at the back guides at any one of the 3 or 4 rather hit icons on those 4 hyperspace tiles. So if you look, you'll
Okay.
see them there, and then you can
I
line it up
see.
on whichever one you feel like having. Now, if there's all full, then you would do range 0 from a board edge instead. So that probably isn't likely going to happen because they're always going to. You should be fine to be able to come through on most of the time. But if it ever does happen, you do set yourself up at range 0 from a board edge. So they're either time matches. Sometimes you'll do a little less time on those. Again, it's dependent upon who's playing. An hour and 5 minutes is one of the times that gets thrown around. You could play in an hour 15. You can play to points. Whatever you decide is going to be what you decide to do. So 1 point for hitting a ship from the first time from full health to down even 1 health. 2 points for killing a ship plus any points on your pilot card. You come back at roll the dice and then decide which hyperspace token to deploy at. And then, are there any other questions, guys?
So your goal is to not get hit. That's what your goal is.
So your
It's-
goal is
it's
to kill
kind of
everybody
the-
else and not die.
It's the same goal as regular X-Wing,
right.
just with less ships.
Yep. And then if you flee, that's right. Yep. If you flee, I forget about that. You remove all of your victory tokens from your card, and then you take an equal number to that from your own victory pile stash, as well as 1 extra for fleeing. So let's say you have 3 on your card, you take 3 from your stash plus 1 for 4. So you lose 4 victory points for fleeing. So don't really suggest doing that.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Since you could pick your pilot and you could fly whatever you want, does anybody know how Moralo Evol plays into this?
I mean, you just come back on the edge of the board. Why would it be any different?
Well, because technically he flees. Does it?
He doesn't.
He's not destroyed, but I mean he flees and then comes back. Would
Well,
he?
you and I
Yeah.
both know when he flees, though, right? It's not the same, is it?
Right.
I don't know.
He's
I
not
guess let me
actually
bring
fleeing
that.
combat. So, I mean,
Oh,
I
fair
would
enough.
assume that his rules follow the rules of the ship card. It says when he would. It probably says when he would flee, place him in reserve. Would be my guess. Let me pull that card up actually, and I will tell you. All right, where are you, big fat thing? All right. If you would flee, you may spend one energy. If you do, place yourself in reserve instead. So basically, you don't flee. You just place yourself in reserve, and then you
Yeah, so you would
relaunch from
still
the
suffer
end.
the same consequences, Charles. So he's not the one you want to take.
Yeah,
Because he doesn't get you take Bosk. If you're gonna take one of them, take Bosk.
take Bosk. Yeah,
Just take the party bus.
Just murdering ships left and right.
Party
yeah.
bus, Bazam. Come on.
Well, I guess the appropriate terminology would be murdering ships in my front 180, left, right, and center.
Oh,
Kind of front arc and center. Yeah, front arc and center, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, yeah. So don't flee, and yeah, sure. Morale of all works just fine. So if you want to take him, I vote definitely take him. Is there
all
any
right.
questions from you guys again?
No, I think we're good. Honestly, I don't think there's a lot to do with there. I think it'd be better if we could put it on the table. I played it once, so before the pandemic, when I was traveling, this was actually literally the first X-Wing game I ever played. I was out in
Really?
Wisconsin. It was the middle of it was a Wednesday night. They had a local there, and I met up with a group because nobody was playing Destiny on Wednesdays, and I was bored and didn't want to go to a bar. And I found I went to the local board game store and they're like, "Oh yeah, we got X-Wing in the basement. You want to play?" I was like, "Is it free?" Yeah, trust me, they got more ships than they need. That's what they told me. And so I went downstairs and they're like, "Hey, you guys, you want you're joining us? You want to play a new game?" Sure. Yeah. And they're like, "No, like a new set of rules." And I was like, "Oh, I don't care." Like it's either do this or go to my hotel room and sit. So guess
the
what? Here
original
you go.
rules.
Here it's a different rules, but here guess what pilot they gave me?
Sparkle Mux.
No,
Boba Fett.
nope,
Sutterfell.
nope. Man, you
Vader
all
X1.
freaking out. Nope.
A
I mean,
droid
there's so
fighter.
many choices, dude.
Yeah, there's like
10
600.
Anakin.
Oh,
10
in
nub.
the B-Wing?
Yeah, I got 10 nub fully loaded, like a loaded out 10 nub in the B-Wing.
That's interesting.
And then I was like, I don't know how to fly this. And they're like, all right, we're just going to give you Poe instead. So that's what they originally gave me was 10 nub. And then one of the dudes was like, well, I like 10 nub. I'll fly him. You want to fly my Poe? And I was like, sure, I'll fly your Poe. And then he gave me Poe. So I flew Poe the first time. That was the first ship I ever actually physically put on a table.
And you came back from, after being forced to fly a T-70, you came back and continued to play? Man, that's
did.
dedication.
I played the week after that and actually played a game with them. So
How long were you in Wisconsin for?
I was in Wisconsin for 7
So
months.
much time. Oh,
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, well, when you travel for a living, sometimes you do underrated things. What we're going to do, I'm going to hit the transition button. We're going to go to What Turns My Dials. So tonight is a pretty easy one. I'm going to bring it up on the screen here. If you didn't know, Vader in the Defender cannot do a lot of things.
He's garbage.
All right. Well, is it your What Turns My Dials or is it mine?
I'm just lending my opinion to the I'm pouring gas on the fire.
All right. So I disagree. I don't think Vader actually sucks. I think Vader is a good pilot. I think a lot of people don't like to run expensive aces. So here's the deal. Vader comes in naked at 115 points. The ruling is that on his card, it says you cannot spend force charges except while attacking. Now, that sounds pretty good to some extent, but that's not what we're used to. We're used to being able to spend force wherever we want to, whenever we want, and however we want. When you perform an attack, you spend one force charge, only one, to change a blank to a hit. Not a crit, just a hit. And I think that in of itself is actually pretty good. So you recover a charge every run, or every round. And so if you spend one charge, who cares? You can't spend it on anything but attacks. That's it. Just attacks. That's all you get. But you're in a defender, so it's one of those things where a lot of people are like, hey, I really like defenders. They are really defensive. Now, Charles played a game where he had a Vader, and I'll tell you what, his Vader lived a lot longer than most ships would, even without being able to spend force on defense, because he can outmaneuver, he can out scheme, and he hits like a truck. Period.
Boss gets harder.
Boss can hit harder with Sam, but only with Sam. You gotta have Sam. So this is not what turns my dials. What turns my dials is I can't have supernatural reflexes, right? And I'm telling you this, and it's not that I disagree with Vader. What I disagree with is give me the ability to spend my force to either perform a barrel roll or boost action before my turn. Right? Let me be Kylo a little bit. Now, the reason this turns my dials is because Supernatural on an I6 is 32 points. Vader comes in at 147. 147. What are you going to put in there? Can you even I don't even think you could put Soontir Fel with him. We're going to find out, though, because I'm going to bring that up here in a second.
Pretty sure you can, actually.
Hold on.
Maybe not, but
we'll find out.
Yeah, you
can.
can.
That's a tie.
Soontir Fel's 54 points. So you can't. Oh, you couldn't. Yep. But you can do Sienna Ree.
But Sienna Ree's not sincere. There's a huge difference.
Okay.
No, she's.
I hate
You're
Soontir Fel.
1 point off.
I know you do.
1 point off from being able to run Soontir Fel.
Exactly. So this is costed to allow you to do this. And this will give Vader, because if we talk about tradition, and this is my last point I'll make. If we talk about the tradition of Vader, Vader has avoided death on so many occasions, it's not even funny. If you read any of the books that he's in, anything, and I'll be honest, I read like 2 to 3 Star Wars books a month, sadly enough. I read a lot of Star Wars books, a lot. And Vader is able to do things lots of people cannot do. He is insanely a boss over everybody else. What's that?
Evil Space Sorcerer.
There you go. Evil Space Sorcerer. But to me, I get why you can't allow it for defense. I 100% agree with that. I don't disagree. But at least let me barrel roll or boost with my supernatural reflexes at a time. That's all I'm saying. That's my rant. You guys can come in now. Come in.
So here's. I'll go ahead, Matt. I will allow you to go first, and then I will retort.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't get me wrong. I would think it would be very fun to have supernatural reflexes on Defender Vader. However, that being said, Vader Defender has pretty much one weakness, and that one weakness is swarms, blocks and swarms. So if you can block him and swarm him, you beat him. With supernatural reflexes, my guess is that it would be almost possible to catch him, to swarm him, and beat him. So, I don't know. To me, it's you get pretty much the modified attack dice. If you could boost left or right, and then do a 4K, which is white, with supernatural boost to get the correct angle, then move at 6 to do the supernatural. I mean, you're looking at the back of them. Now you still have the ability. I think after supernatural, you get the ability to do an action too, right? Isn't that right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So basically, you get You get all those extra things. So it would be broken, very broken. Sorry,
I disagree with you.
broken.
How about this? And I'm going to throw a challenge out there, and then I'll let Charles decide why he thinks that he doesn't like Vader. But I throw a challenge out there. You run Defader Vendor with anybody else
Defader
you
vendor.
want. Defender Vader with Supernatural, and run any other ship you want that fits the 200 point limit. And I'll bring a list, and we'll go at it. 100%. I don't think you're going to win. But
I'm not going to lie. I don't think I can win with it. Don't get me wrong. I think there are people out there that will win with it. Not me.
Find somebody, anybody. This is an
Ali
open
Paco.
challenge.
Yep, we'll get
Yeah.
Ali
Say
Paco.
Matt
in
You get
here.
Ali
Carey.
on. Ali will probably win just because he's a better
Or
player than me.
Salmon.
Come on. Like, let's be honest, man. But fine, I don't care. Bring Ali on. See if Ali wants to join our stream.
Right.
And we'll do a live game. He could fly Vader Defender with Supernatural and one other ship. And that fits the points. Because, by the way, you could put Echo with passive sensors and you have a straight 200. That's pretty good, actually. You don't get your, maul, but you're pretty good. That's pretty good. Echo's pretty good piece.
His brother, but still not bad. Not bad. It's a good choice.
So
Solid
anyway,
choice.
I challenge anybody. Let them. I'll run whatever list I can for the 200. You get that, and we'll see where we are.
So wait a minute. Couple things. Number one, you're talking about how amazing this would be, but then you want someone else to fly it against you so that you can disprove your own theory that it's not amazing. Right? Is that what we're doing?
Nope. No, what I'm saying, Charles.
I said it was unbeatable. He's saying it's beatable.
I'm saying is it is beatable. Let them do that.
It's definitely
I agree with not being able to modify defense dice because that's like that becomes a pretty the defender is already extremely defensible, and if Vader is allowed to take a target lock plus take his free evade and use his force to on evade, that I agree that's fine. That's probably pretty broken. But Vader can't modify defense dice. Let him be 147
with
points.
The force, he can still modify his defense dice. He gets an evade and a focus.
He has to
pretty
take
much
the focus
every time.
But he has to take the focus.
Right, I get it, but the force is all there for attack. See, that's the thing. You're acting like you need the force for both attack and so like who cares? You can dump every bit of force to hit like a dump truck after you have repositioned yourself so you take 2 shots? If you can change it instead of bumping and taking 5 shots to pre-maneuvering and taking an evade and a focus and only taking 2 shots, therein lies the difficulty. Right? What 32-point ship could equal that amount of extra survivability in an already very powerful ship is what Charles is basically saying and what I'm basically saying too. I'm not saying it's unbeatable. It's just a force magnifier is all I'm saying.
So here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say one thing that's just kind of tongue in cheek that has nothing to do with this other than Vader is involved in what I'm going to say. And then I'm going to address Vader Defender with supernatural reflexes. Because Chris says that Vader is like the boss, right? The Master of the Force got snuck up on by a ship 6 times the size of the ship he was in during the trench run. Han Solo in the Falcon. Han Solo in the Falcon snuck up on Vader and shot him. And his reaction was not, oh yeah, I knew they were there. His reaction was, what? Like complete surprise for the Master of the Force who felt his son across the galaxy, didn't feel Joe Schmo and his pet dog in the cockpit of the Falcon lining up a shot. Bull. He's not as powerful as everybody says he is. He's great. I take nothing away from Vader, but he's not as powerful as everybody says he is. He's a whiny person in a really powerful suit that was backed by the corporate empire, and that's all it is. It's propaganda, baby. It's not as good as he thinks it is. Anyway, back to the reality of this stupid ship. And send the hate.
Very sneaky, by the way.
Send the hate. Send the hate. I don't care. Bring it. Send it. I'll take all the heat on that one. I don't care.
You just called Chewbacca a dog, asshole.
He listen.
All right.
I didn't do it. I
Move-
didn't do it. Hold on. I didn't
right.
do it first. I didn't
Let's
do
move
it
forward.
first.
That's fine. Let's move forward. What's your
Spaceballs did it way before I did.
I know.
Anyway.
He's playing around. He's a
So-
mullet.
What's your gripe?
You said that it's costed to do this. There's not another ship. Not another ship in this game. Not one. I defy you to build another single ship at 147 points. I can fully load Guri. Fully load Guri with every possible upgrade slot full. And she's like 127.
okay?
Say Ray is closer. Ray, you can get pretty high up, but I don't think you can get to 147 with Ray even either. And she has a lot of slots.
And that's
She's in the
just
sneaky
supernatural.
Falcon. I'm just saying.
You've still got 3 other slots that you haven't even touched. That's just supernatural. So you're at 147. You are 3/4 of the 200-point list in a ship.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's a big deal.
I'll get
Personally.
half and run.
I know. That's my point. You just proved my point, man. My
But
point is it's not that great. It's
I-
the whole point is let them have supernatural. Let's move on with our lives.
I disagree.
have advanced
and,
sensors.
And here is why I disagree. Here is why it's great. With Supernatural, if we compare the X1 with Supernatural, which it can do, the X1 with Supernatural is not as defensive as a defender, and it's still a beast to take down with Supernatural on it because of the repositioning that he gets, because of the force manipulation that he gets, and because of just Vader's general abilities in the X1. I think the Defender dial is better than the X1 because it has the white K-turns. It allows for you to do some tomfoolery. I think that beyond the dial being better, the ship is more defensible with more health, better dial. I think the attacks are stronger in my opinion when you have the force set aside just for that and tokens, so you don't have to conserve force for anything if you don't want to. Vader and a Defender, I like the X1 better, but that's my personal flying style. After flying Vader Defender, if you put Supernatural on them, it's game breaking, and I don't think anything can convince me the otherwise. That's my 2 cents. I'll be quiet now.
And that's fair. You guys had your opinion, my segment. I'm just telling you. To me, I disagree. I don't think it's that meta breaking. Especially, it's the same way. Like I could have said the same thing with advanced sensors. In my opinion, let Vader have advanced sensors because he can't then perform the evade action after he execute a 3 to 5 maneuver. Because advanced sensor says you get 1 action. That's it. You're done and over with. So both of those could be fine. But hey.
Is it an action or is it a token?
So
Yes,
it's perform an
action.
So if you advance sensors, you can't take it.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, fine. Give me advanced sensors at minimum. Take the force thing off and give me the sensor slot, and we'll move on. Either which way, this is enough. We've exhausted the subject. I still put the challenge out there. If people really think it's that broken, and I'm not that great of a player, you're welcome to challenge me. You get to run the Vader Defender with Supernatural and all of that and beat me. And if you can beat me consistently, fine. We'll have an episode where I spend the time going, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I kind of want to line this up just so that I can hear you say that.
I know.
Fine.
I kind of do too.
Bring it on. I challenge people on Nickel City live on his stream. I'll challenge people live on Planning Phase Syndicate. Either which way, I've had enough Vader Defender for the night. Why don't we talk about something maybe a little bit more fun? I don't know. Why don't we do a roll call segment? In our roll call segment tonight, I think what we're going to do is we're going to do something different. We've done a lot where we put ships together, and like we could do that. We could have a segment where we build Aces High lists. We could do that. I don't know if that's that much fun. It is fun. I actually found it really fun. I'll be honest with you. I already built 3 lists. Just so everybody knows. 3 of them. One of them you saw was Obi-Wan. You just don't know what it was because y'all jumped out at CTS too fast. So I'm going to delete those lists before y'all find them. But I think it might be fun to talk about 1.0 to 2.0 conversion, right? Because I think that's a big thing for a lot of longer term players. It's a lot of things people there's a love for 1.0 that some people have, that others do not. But to me, the big part about the game is when you make a transition and you do all these things, what do you want to do? You want to bring some of your favorite components, some of your favorite elements over, right? You spent all this money, you did all these things. How do you get them into the next, the next version of this? And I will tell you, I bought in under 2.0, not 1.0. So like in my world, it's a little bit different, but I can understand it from other games that I played, such as like Mansions of Madness, where I had to buy a 2.0 version of the damn game, just to play. And I think that's an important factor in having the discussion because a lot of people were playing this game before even I knew about it. So Charles is going to talk to us tonight about 1.0, and he's going to give us some ships or some pilots that he said did not make it to the cut. And we could then discuss why they might not have made them, because maybe it's like the Vader and Defender with Supernatural. There you go. Maybe that's the case.
So with the pilots that I took, I don't think anything like that is the case so far. But as we delve into this further, eventually I'll talk about upgrades that didn't make it, stuff like that. That I think would be cool in 2.0. I don't know how we would fit them into 2.0, so maybe down the road we can discuss how we would bend a 1.0 card to fit into 2.0. I think that would be fun. But for tonight, just looking at 1.0 to 2.0 when it comes to pilot transition. So, background on me, I've been playing X Wing since the Scum split, since they took the Scum pilots and built their own faction rather than having them be part of the Empire. Because the Empire originally had a fire spray that they used with Boba Fett as the pilot until they decided that Scum needed to be its own faction. Um, I have always loved the Star Viper as a ship. I think it's great. The only N64 game I ever really owned was Shadows of the Empire, and that book and that game is where the ship originated. Um, Star Vipers were terrible in 1.0. Nobody played them. They were too expensive. They tried to figure out how to make them better, and then came the pack where you got a repainted Star Viper and a repainted Kiraz fighter. And in it, you got a whole bunch of pilots for the Star Viper and the Kiraz fighter. You got the Kiraz fighter title that gave you 3 mod slots and made every mod cheaper. And you got the Star Viper title that allowed you to not only equip that Star Viper title, which made the Star Viper 3 points cheaper, but you could also then equip a secondary title and take Virago. In that pack also came my favorite pilot, which was Thweek. Now, Thweek at his core was a regular Star Viper pilot. He was I4, which is like, I don't know, I2 or I3 now. So not super high up on the chain, but not like bottom of the barrel. And Thweek's ability was during the place forces step, you could choose one of your opponent's ships and assign either mimicked or you could assign shadowed to your opponent's ship. Now, how that worked was if you assigned mimic, just a second, I want to make sure I get the wording. So if you decided to assign mimic, Thweek is treated as having that pilot's ability. So you could copy another pilot's ability. So like if they were flying Fenrau, you could mimic Fenrau and have a Star Viper that had Fenrau's pilot ability.
That would be awesome. And
That's
also
hilarious.
game breaking would be my guess on that.
I don't think it ever got out of control. Thweek didn't get a lot of play, but I ran him in a list with Fenrau and Talonbane Cobra, which was the I9 Kiraz fighter. So it was a triple ace list. Because the other ability, which is shadowed, was that Thweek is treated as having the pilot skill value you have after setup. So if you ran a scrub list, so everything was below I4, I would mimic one of your pilot's abilities because I4, I was already the ace. If you ran something that was higher than I4, I would copy your pilot skill. So that way I could have myself above you in the initiative order because I always took the bid. And then I had Fen and I had Talonbane, which were all high pilots. But it adds a level of complexity to the game because you could copy another pilot's ability. So if you flew Bosk, I could have a Star Viper that could push a crit through, into 2 hits. But again, he was mid card. So if you chose to steal somebody's pilot ability, you did it at what essentially now is like I3. So you were a mid card pilot at best. And the Star Vipers were not in 1.0 what they are now. They were not as beefy. They were not as dodgy. They were mid-range, mid-card ships at best. So as much love as I have for it, I really wish that he would have made the transition to 2.0. I would love to have him.
So I have a quick question. Can I ask a
Yeah,
question?
absolutely.
Just because this is all new to me. So in this world, and I have this up on the screen, right? So Thweek is a 4. Thweek, that's hilarious. Thweek's a 4.
Yep.
And if you would have no reason to ever choose to take a lower pilot skill level, right?
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So you would never do that because Virago says you can't have it if you're 3 or lower. So with Thweek, and this is a 26-point ship, so think of it, double it for 2.0, so that's 52, right?
Yep.
Yeah, 52. Good, thank you. I'm glad somebody can do math because I can't. So it's a 52-point ship in 2.0. And I don't know what Guri is off the top of my head. I think Guri comes in
70 something.
Around 60 or 70. But so you could have that Star Viper title as well as Virago,
64.
and now you're getting illicit upgrades. Now you're getting system upgrades. I think that's like an undervalued character in that list because I'm coming in right now naked at 26 points. I still have 74 points to play with however I want to.
Absolutely. I loved it. Now,
points, right?
I'll be fair. With this list, the list that I ran, which was Fenrau, Thweek, and Talonbane Cobra, the Alpha Strike was ridiculous. But they popped like zits on a teenager's face. Like, they just... Like, if you got my dice went cold at any point in time, they died. Because if you look at a Viper, the Virago title in 1.0, all it did was give you the system and the
Yep.
illicit. It did not give you the extra shield. It did not give you the additional boost. It gave you none of that. It just gave you the ability to have the illicit and the other. So yeah, I would run advanced sensors, probably run glitter stim. That's one of the cards we'll talk about later that I made the transition to 2.0. And just run him at 31 points. Fenrau with Push the Limit, which in 1.0 Push the Limit was our answer to linked actions. Obviously running the Concord Dawn title, and then I would run Talonbane, and I would fully load Talonbane because there was no reason not to. If you put the Kiraz title on the Kiraz fighter, you got 3 mod slots, and every cost of the mod was lowered by 1 to a minimum of 0. So you could just load him up with modifications that made him a beast as well. But that being said, that's the scum pilot that I wish would have made it over. Moving on to the other 2 factions that were available because we didn't have First Order and we didn't have Resistance. First Order was lumped into Imperial and Resistance was lumped into Rebel. They had not yet split into their own factions. So for Rebel, we had the Rebel TIE Fighter, which was Sabine's TIE Fighter. There were a lot of cool pilots. I completely forgot that Ahsoka Tano was one of them. So you had Ahsoka in the Rebel TIE Fighter, and her ability was that at any point she could spend a focus to give a friendly ship at range 1 a free action. So she was kind of like Jake, but in a TIE Fighter. So, but she had to...
She kept her own ability, like from the Republic version of her, where she can basically just use the Force to give it's like a Force coordinate. In this particular case, she uses the focus, but still.
Yeah, we didn't have Force in 1.0. That's a 2.0 construct.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was no Jedi. I mean, you had Luke, but I don't know if
Ahsoka's
Luke.
a
Ahsoka
Jedi.
Tano is a Jedi. So
Just saying.
Right, but I'm saying like we didn't have like Republic Jedi starfighters or anything like that.
oh, I
Gotcha.
know, but I mean, yeah. You're saying Luke's X-wing, Luke Skywalker and the
I
X-wing had no.
I'm double checking because I don't think so. But before someone calls me out on it, give me 2 seconds because I don't remember there being Force, but I could be wrong.
So what would Luke's talent have been?
Oh, we're gonna look it up.
Luke's talent, he was an I-8 pilot in the X-Wing, so almost top of the list, and was while defending, you may change one focus result to an evade result.
Okay,
So there was no Force.
soft focus.
Yep.
Soft,
So just
soft defensive focus.
yep.
That's
So
horrible.
I mean, it's
we
all
had
right.
no
It's
we had no
reusable.
Force, man.
It's reusable. If he takes more than one shot, it's like basically having multiple focus tokens. In that particular case, that's multiple focus tokens, basically.
Fair enough.
So I
1.0 is, but...
I like the idea of having Ahsoka in the Rebel TIE fighter. The issue that we had with the Rebel TIE, because everybody got excited about the idea of Rebel TIE swarms. But every single pilot was released for Sabine's TIE is a unique pilot. So the most you could have was like 3 or 4 on the board. And that was if you wanted to fill your list out with that. I don't know why that
stayed true. Isn't that right? Can you not? Yeah, I don't think you.
they're all still no,
Yeah,
there's
I
no
was gonna say.
generic. They're all still named. I think Ahsoka was the only named pilot in Sabine's TIE fighter that did not transition to 2.0 in Sabine's TIE. We got other Ahsokas, but not in Sabine's Rebel TIE fighter. And then for me, one pilot that I would have liked to have seen, I like the X1 platform, the TIE Advanced X1. I like the platform. I think it's fun. Every time that I've been forced to fly it, which is never, but every time that I've flown against it, it's not been a negative play experience. There's not been a time where I felt it was overpowered. I feel that it's been aptly costed in both 1.0 and 2.0, whether it was Merrick Steele or Vader or whoever flying it. Juno Eclipse was a pilot that we had available in the TIE X1. And her ability, I think, would be fun in that ship because of its maneuverability. But her ability was when you reveal your maneuver dial, you may increase or decrease the speed of your maneuver by 1. So if you revealed a 2-bank, it's like the Slave 1. You could choose if someone blocked your 3-bank, you could choose to do a 2.
Is it more like Hera, or no?
I'm not sure which Hera B-wing, Hera A-wing, Hera Ghost.
Sorry. Yeah, Hera in the VCX.
Oh, Hera in the Ghost. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. I've never flown the Ghost.
Well, that then there's also I think there's a droid that actually allows you to kind of mimic that too now.
There's possible, and I know that I think there's a pilot like or a crew that allows you to do it as well. But having it on an X1, I think, would be a lot of fun just because it opens up that maneuver dial and allows you to be a little bit reactive and planning with it. So
R2A6.
It makes her whole dial, besides the 4K, the whole dial would be blue maneuvers, and the 4K is a white maneuver. The whole thing.
That's crazy.
And if you did the 4K, you could take it down to a 3K if you needed to.
That's crazy. R2A6 allows you to, you may set your dial to a maneuver of the same bearing and speed, one higher or lower.
Yep.
So Republic droid.
Yep. So, but this gave something like that to the Empire, which is something that I don't know that they have a whole lot of. I know that Boba, the Slave 1 title for Boba Fett, allows you to change the bearing of your maneuver but not affect the speed. But yeah, I mean that's that. There's a lot of upgrades that I would have loved to see, like Glitter Stim or something like that, make its way over from 1.0 to 2.0, and who knows? Maybe we'll see it in future packs. I don't know. For those of you that are wondering, just real quick, Glitter Stim was an upgrade where to translate it to 2.0 terms would be it has 1 charge, just like any other illicit upgrade. You spend your charge, and at the start of engagement, you choose to spend your charge. And for the remainder of that engagement round, all focuses on any die, whether it's red or green, become hit or evade.
Nice. So one round of like super evades.
You basically do a bump
super
of magic.
focuses?
Yeah, you basically do a bump of magic snow, and then you are hyper focused for that combat round.
So, you know what's funny? In the new High Republic book, spoiler warning, they do this weird substance that the enemies do this weird substance that is essentially like that. It makes them hyper focused. So we might still see this come back, honestly, Charles. Maybe not as that name, but we might actually see this come back if they bring any of the High Republic stuff into the show.
And I mean,
You're
there
not
are
likely to
some.
see that though. Maybe like a hit where you like get a second focus or something. 2 points for that? That's ridiculous.
Well,
Oh,
think
so
2
that's
points.
4 points.
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 points on a 100-point list.
Gotcha.
But you know, there are some cards
No.
from 1.0 that made it to 2.0 but completely changed their abilities. And that's just because there were some things from 1.0 that was removed. So like for instance, the Decimator or the Jumpmaster had turret arcs. But in 1.0, turret arcs didn't rotate. A turret arc in 1.0 meant you had a 360-degree arc at all times. You could fire no matter where. And their answer to that was auto thrusters. But auto thrusters was not the boosts that it is in 2.0. Auto thrusters was if you are beyond range 2 or outside of the primary front arc of the ship, you got an auto evade. You could change one die result automatically to an evade. And that was their balancing mechanism for ships like the Falcon, ships like the Outrider, the Decimator, the Jumpmaster, any turret arc ship. The only ship that had a mobile arc was the Shadowcaster. That was the only ship that had an arc that you could manually change where it rotated to. Everybody else just had a static 360-degree arc. And one of the most broken lists ever, and I think I've talked to Chris about this, was 4 Scum Y-Wings.
TLT.
With TLT. That gave you a 360-degree arc. Each ship could fire twice, and you were almost guaranteed to get 1 damage, because if the attack hit, you canceled all dice results and dealt 1 damage. And you could do it 8 times around.
Jeez.
2 with each of the Y-Wings, and you had a 360-degree arc, so there was never a reason to not take the shot. So there were some things at 1.0 that don't need to make their way to 2.0, but there are some fun things that I wish would. So hopefully we'll do this segment a little more often, and we'll go through some of that stuff. And who knows, maybe if we can figure out how to get TTS to work with these cards, maybe we'll throw down a 1.0 game here and there.
We'll see. I was advised to not play 1.0 with you.
Who told you that, John?
Nope. All right. We're gonna move on from this segment and close out the show with our Rebel Hangar Academy. So, I believe tonight we're gonna focus on Republic. Question is, do you want to do hyperspace or extended?
Let's open it up. Let's do extended. So far with this segment, we've kept it to extended, so let's continue doing so.
All right. So for those of you who do not know, there it is. Okay, good. Now it's coming up. I don't know why it's telling me I have missing items, but it is. So if I were to build a Republic list, which I actually genuinely like Republic, there's two methods you can go with, because they don't really have swarms. You could go with I want to run Jedis, or you can go with I want to run more of like a upgraded Rebel beef list, right? And I think both are very viable. I think the difference is your play style. My play style is to not run a Rebel beef list. It's to run some sort of a swarm. But y'all know that, so we're not going to do that tonight. We're going to pick something different to run, something a little bit more fun. So we're going to start with an Ada 2 Actis. And since it's extended, we have different Jedis we can pick from. So Shakti is the most popular choice. And she says at the start of the end phase, you may spend 1 force token to choose a friendly ship at range 0 to 2. Each chosen ship does not remove 1 focus or evade token till the end phase. So for 44 points, right there, that's pretty tight. Now you gotta still be cagey. You do. You are limiting your attack a little bit. But I'm telling you, she gets 2 force. So Charles, do you have any upgrades or things you think might be good with that?
Shakti.
Yeah. And
The
no, you can't put
one.
hate.
No,
No hate.
no. The one that comes to mind that I saw, I want to say it was in Bespin, was putting auto blasters.
Okay. Which is a pretty cheap cannon. I like auto blasters. And if we're gonna run auto blasters, we might as well run marksmanship because it's only 1 point more. Come on, marksmanship. And that says while you perform an attack, if the defender is in your bullseye, you may change 1 hit to a crit. If you can outmaneuver them and they're not in your firing arc, they can't cancel crits. I would say for her that's probably pretty good. I would not add a bunch more to her because you excuse me, you're investing quite a bit of money into her. So now you got to say, do I want to run deltas? Do I want to run heavy hitters? Or do I just want to evade a bunch? Right? Because you could take another ETA, and this is one that nobody uses, but you could take Yoda. Yoda's 4 points more. Yoda says, after another friendly ship at range 0 to 3 spends a force token, you may spend 1 of your force, and that ship recovers a force. So if we're going to put auto blasters and marksmanship on Shakti, why not make Yoda a defensive ETA? We're still under 100 points, and that allows him to refuel Shakti. Crazy? Am I crazy? Somebody say something. You're muted, Matt.
Going good.
Did you have the crit bot on Shakti?
I did not because she's a 4, and I'm a little worried that if we do a crit bot on her, it might not work. We can put the crit bot on her, but if we're gonna pick another ETA or another Delta, we got to be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Gotcha.
And that's why I wanted Yoda in there. Now you could run Yoda as a crew card. I like Yoda. I think Yoda in the ETA is still pretty aggressive. And you could still put Brilliant Evasion on him if you wanted. You can, which is essentially you could spend 1 force to change 2 of your eyeballs to evades. You can put Patience on there.
What
you can gain a
about
deplete to recover a force token. So there's a couple of things you can do with him too.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
Matt, you mentioned the crit bot. What about instead of doing a crit bot, you had mentioned, Chris, about putting a Delta 7 on there. What about Barris? Barris
All
Ophi
right.
allows you to spend a force to change a focus to a hit or a hit to a crit result for a friendly ship at range 0-2 when it performs an attack. So between marksmanship and Barris's ability, depending on how your dice roll out, you could wind up hit crit. If you rolled 2 natural hits, you could wind out, crit, really. Or even better, if you're at range 1 in bullseye, you get 4 dice that you could roll and be able to mod 2 of them into crits if you needed to. And if your auto blasters are placed right, they can't cancel those crits. So having Barris available, it's 38 points, but I mean, if you put the Delta 7B upgrade on him,
Her on
her,
her.
Even then,
oh,
Barris
excuse
is
me, her.
she's so Barris. She only has one force. That's my gripe always about Barris. But I suppose if you have Yoda in there, Yoda's a battery anyway, so Yoda force battery.
And then if you did put the Delta 7B, Naked Yoda, Shock T with auto blasters and marksmanship, you still got 50 points to either kit them out and run a 3-ship list, or 50 points to stick a 4th one in there, depending on what you wanted to put in.
So at this rate, you have to add a 4th one. There's not going to be enough output without it. There just won't be.
But would you do a Delta 7 on Barris, or would you just run a CLT?
Well, and that's a good question, because you can run a Jedi Knight with Delta 7B and keep Barris the same way. You could do that. Otherwise, if you drop it, you get 17 points back. So it kind of depends on where you want to go with your next ship. So we're going to take it offer, and then we're going to say, all right, before we do that, because you have to have another aggressive ship. You're just going to have to. You have to do that to be able to do damage. Because if you take that Delta 7 off her, where's your damage going to come from?
Just kidding. I don't know. None of them hit very hard unless you're behind them, right?
Well, that's the idea. The idea is I don't need to come in and do 175 points of damage. I need to come in, do a little damage, run, reposition, and come back. You could go.
Tactics.
Yep. You could go with another ETA. So we're gonna pull
It's a lot of squishy though. Whew.
It is. It's all about maneuverability now. And you have Obi-Wan, or you have Anakin. With Anakin, I still have 10 points left. What's the name of the astromech that's a crit bot?
R7A7, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, R7A7. Yep. While you perform an attack, you may spend 1 energy to change a hit to a crit.
All right. And then I can add my auto blasters. Yep. So I could do Annie. I could put auto blasters. And marksmanship. And have a 3-point bid.
That's interesting.
Now.
Oh, no, because you're going to put CLT on.
Unless you put CLT on. Then you're 200 even.
Ish, with 2 weird pieces.
You have 1 heavy hitter, 1 medium hitter, 1 ultra defensive ship, and 1 medium defensive that can modify 2 of your other ships.
It's interesting.
So when we talk about, again, this is supposed to be a semi-competitive list. This is not, I'm going to tell you, this is probably not meta. This is definitely something that would have to be tested. And I think the idea
probably is near meta, though.
But it is. Shock T is 100% meta, and Anakin kind of comes in there behind that. The only issue you have is that you have no bid. That's your issue. So I don't know if that's good or bad. I think you have to play the list, honestly, to see. I could tell you it's a lot of fun. I like playing ADAs. I only own 2 of them. I have to borrow 1 for my kid. But they are fun to play. Matt does not like playing them. They pop.
I'm just not good enough. I pop. They pop.
Matt would rather have something that outmaneuvers these. But yeah, I don't know. I think again, I don't think this is a top tier list, but I do think this is a pretty semi-competitive list, and I do think this is something that you can run at your local, and it would be fun. I will tell you, there's a lot of bloody triggers, so you have to be careful. But I do enjoy me some deltas and some ETAs. Charles, any input?
I have been looking for an interesting Republic list to mess around with. And I just might lift this from your hands and see what I can do with it.
There you go.
Interesting. That's for sure.
All right.
Should we run it down? You want to run it down, Chris?
Yeah. So we have Shock T in the ETA with auto blasters, marksmanship. We have Yoda in the ETA, BF naked. We have Baris in the Delta 7 with the calibrated targeting system. And then we have Anakin in the ETA with marksmanship, auto blasters, and an R7A7 crit bot astromech, which is actually really good for 3 points. And it's said it's only in Republic because if it was in other factions, we could use it all the time. Love it. Love that astromech.
But you'd have it on all the scum ships that have like all those freaking auto blasters.
You would.
Oy.
Oh, you would. It'd be good
You
though.
would. Would be good.
I wouldn't. I don't run scum very often.
Mm-hmm. It would be good.
All right. Any last closing words as we run the episode out?
I just saw a thing online that I'm going to watch after that says that Barris became Seventh Sister. So I'm going to check that out and see if that's a thing.
All right.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Well, thank you all so much for joining us on Planning Phase Syndicate. We've had an amazing time tonight. Episode 8, Aces High. We learned something new. We get to learn how to play and play that. I don't know. Maybe next week. We're gonna determine, depending on schedules and time frame, because my work schedule's gone off the charts crazy, and I'm trying to stream ecstasy games, and I have kids, so my kids still like to hang out with me, weirdly enough. So just give us a few. Our goal is to stream an Aces High game and an episode next Sunday. But at minimum, you'll get a next episode next Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, for anybody that wants to watch. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, do all your weird social media stuff, and make sure you get alerts every time we go live, every Sunday, and every XCC game that we play. With that being said, thank you so much. Have an amazing night, and we'll see you next week,
Good night.
9 p.m. Eastern.